Welcome to the world of science fiction stories, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe my channel. Enjoy the listening. Humanity was believed gone, but we returned and took back our land. The Victory ships appeared in the sky without warning. It was a normal spring day in 2157 when the massive dark objects blocked the sun over major cities. People stopped and stared up, not understanding what they were seeing. Some took pictures, some called loved ones. No one knew these were the last normal moments Earth would have. Commander Park was drinking coffee in the Himalayan Command Center when the alarm started. He rushed to the control room where screens showed hundreds of alien vessels entering Earth's atmosphere. "What are we looking at?" Park asked, his voice firm but his hands gripped the back of a chair tightly. Lieutenant Kim was already at her station, fingers flying across her console. "Unknown vessels, sir. They're not responding to any communication attempts. Alert all defense forces worldwide. Now." The first attacks hit major military installations. The aliens, who would later identify themselves as the Victory, used weapons that seemed impossible. They fired beams that disintegrated buildings in seconds. Their smaller ships moved faster than anything humans had built. Within hours, Earth's most powerful weapons proved useless. Missiles disappeared before reaching their targets, fighter jets were swatted from the sky like insects. Nuclear launches were somehow disabled before detonation. Park watched the defense grid status lights turn red one by one. Each light meant thousands of soldiers, sailors, and pilots were gone. He had trained with many of them. "Sir," said Kim, her face pale but determined, "the president is on the line." Park took the call in his office. The president looked exhausted, with smoke visible in the background. "Commander, we're activating Omega," the president said simply. Park felt his stomach drop. Evacuation Protocol Omega was supposed to be theoretical, a last resort never meant to be used. 12 massive colony ships, built in secret over the past 20 years, hidden in underground facilities around the world. The protocol assumed Earth was lost and humanity needed to survive elsewhere. "Are you certain, Madam President?" "I am. The Victory just rejected our surrender offer. They stated their mission is to cleanse the planet for their use. They're not interested in coexistence." Park nodded grimly. "I understand. We'll give you as much time as we can." For 3 days, Earth's remaining forces fought a losing battle. Their real purpose was no longer victory but distraction. As they fought, civilians selected for the evacuation program were quietly transported to the colony ships. Scientists, doctors, engineers, farmers, teachers, people chosen for the skills needed to rebuild human civilization on a new world. The Himalayan Command Center became humanity's last major stronghold. Soldiers from around the world made their way there for the final stand. They knew what they were doing, sacrificing themselves so others could escape. Lieutenant Kim stayed at her post, coordinating the remains of Earth's defenses. She hadn't slept in 2 days. "The European forces are gone," she reported. "American forces down to 12%. Park nodded. "What about the colony ships?" 11 are loaded. The last one is at 94% capacity. A technician rushed in. "Sir, the Victory have found Launch Site 7. They're moving in." Park grabbed the facility-wide communication system. "All forces, redirect to protect Launch Site 7. This is Priority 1. Across the world, the last human military units fought with desperate courage. In space, the few remaining orbital platforms turned their weapons toward the Victory ships near Launch Site 7. Kim watched the final colony ship status. "They need 10 more minutes for launch, sir." "Then we give them 10 minutes, Park said. He opened a channel to Captain Han, who commanded the last orbital defense platform. "Captain, we need to buy time for the final launch. Can you create a distraction?" Han's voice came through with static. Already on it, sir. We're preparing to overload our reactor. It should create enough electromagnetic interference to blind their sensors temporarily. That's a one-way mission, Captain. We know, sir. It's been an honor. Minutes later, a flash lit up the sky as the orbital platform sacrificed itself. The electromagnetic pulse temporarily disabled the nearest Vectory ships, creating a window for the colony ship. Launch Site 7 reports they're ready, Kim said. Park took a deep breath. Give the order. Deep underground, the final colony ship's engines roared to life. The mountain above it split open as the massive vessel rose toward the stars. On board were 40,000 humans, joining the 460,000 already launched on the other ships. The Vectory, momentarily confused by the explosion and electromagnetic interference, didn't detect the colony ship until it was already reaching escape velocity. In the command center, Park allowed himself a small smile as the final ship cleared Earth's atmosphere. All ships away, Kim confirmed. They're activating their jump drives now. One by one, the colony ships disappeared from Earth's sensors, jumping to a predetermined rendezvous point far from the solar system. From there, they would begin their long journey to Kepler 442b, a planet that might support human life. The Vectory forces regrouped and surrounded the Himalayan command center, their ships hovering overhead cast everything in shadow. It's been an honor serving with you all, Park said to his remaining staff. We've done our duty. Humanity will survive because of what happened here today. Lieutenant Kim stood at attention beside him. What now, sir? Now we make our final stand. Every minute we keep fighting is another minute our people get farther away. The Vectory ground forces breached the outer defenses. The command center shook with explosions. Park and Kim led the defense from room to room, falling back slowly. When they reached the central operations room, Park sealed the doors and activated the facility's self-destruct sequence. For Earth, he said simply. Kim nodded. For Earth. The explosion took out not only the command center but also a significant number of Vectory forces that had pushed inside. In orbit above Earth, the Vectory Supreme Commander received reports of the final human resistance being crushed. He declared victory, believing humanity was now extinct. The aliens began their work transforming Earth for their own use, unaware that the seeds of humanity's return were already speeding through the stars, carrying with them the memory of home and the promise to one day return. The 12 colony ships moved through the darkness of space in perfect formation. Inside them, most of the 500,000 human survivors slept in cryostasis pods, unaware of the passing of time. Their dreams were monitored by Gaia, the artificial intelligence system that controlled all functions of the fleet. Life support systems stable across all vessels, Gaia reported in its calm, even voice. Estimated arrival at Kepler 442b in 79 years, 3 months, and 16 days. On the command ship Genesis, Director Lee walked through the dim corridors. She was one of only 50 crew members who remained awake during the journey, rotating in 5-year shifts to oversee the mission. The burden of leadership weighed heavily on her. Every decision she made affected humanity's last hope. In the education center, a small group of children sat in a circle around a holographic display showing images of Earth. These children had been born during the journey, conceived from frozen embryos to ensure genetic diversity for the future colony. They would never know the world their species came from. That's a whale, said the teacher, pointing to a massive creature swimming through blue waters. They lived in Earth's oceans. Yamai, only 6 years old, reached out to touch the hologram, his fingers passed through the image of the whale. Will we ever see Earth again? He asked, his eyes wide with wonder. Director Lee had entered quietly and heard his question. The children turned to her, waiting for an answer. One day, she said, forcing a smile. She didn't believe it herself, but she couldn't take away their hope. That night in her private quarters, Lee reviewed the mission data. The journey was proceeding as planned, but new challenges appeared regularly. One of the cryostasis sections on the third ship had experienced temperature fluctuations. Engineers had fixed the problem, but 3 colonists had died before they could be stabilized. 3 fewer humans to build a new world. 3 fewer sets of skills and knowledge. 3 fewer genetic profiles for the future population. Lee rubbed her tired eyes. She would finish her 5-year shift in just 2 months, then return to cryostasis while another leader took her place. Sometimes she wished she could stay awake for the entire journey, but no human could endure 80 years of this responsibility. Gaia, she called out. Yes, Director Lee. Show me our destination again. A hologram appeared showing Kepler 442b. The planet looked promising from their long-range scans, slightly larger than Earth, orbiting in the habitable zone of its star. But it wasn't Earth. It would never be Earth. Years passed. Crew members rotated in and out of their sleep cycles. Children grew up in the artificial environment of the ships, learning about a world they had never seen. Some of them became parents themselves, bringing a new generation into existence who knew only the metal walls of the colony fleet. When the ships finally reached Kepler 442b, 79 years after leaving Earth, Director Min was in command. He had the honor of announcing their arrival to the colonists as they were gradually awakened from cryostasis. Look, he said, pointing to the viewport where a blue-green planet grew larger as they approached. Our new home. They named it New Terra. From orbit, it looked promising, with oceans and continents. But the first survey teams discovered it was harsher than Earth, stronger gravity, thinner atmosphere, more extreme weather patterns. The plants and animals were alien, following their own evolutionary path. We can't survive here long-term without significant adaptation, reported Chief Scientist Sun after the initial surveys. The air is breathable but contains lower oxygen levels than we're used to. The soil lacks certain minerals essential for growing Earth crops. Director Min nodded grimly. Then we adapt. We have no choice. The colonists built their first settlement in a sheltered valley, constructing habitats using materials from the ships. They called the settlement Hope. It wasn't comfortable, but it was a beginning. Years passed, then decades. The colony grew slowly but steadily. Children born on New Terra developed stronger muscles and larger lung capacity in response to the environment. Engineers developed atmospheric processors to adjust the air inside the habitats. Botanists created hybrid plants that could grow in the alien soil. 100 years after landing, New Terra had 3 major cities and dozens of smaller settlements. The colony ships had been dismantled long ago, their materials repurposed for buildings and machines. The colonists now numbered nearly 1 million, most of them born on this world. In the research center of the capital city, engineer June studied the salvaged vectory technology they had brought from Earth. The aliens' advanced materials and energy systems were still not fully understood, but humans were making progress. I think I've figured out how their phase shifters work, June told his colleague. If we could replicate this technology, we could build ships that travel faster than anything we had on Earth. Across the hall, physicist Sue was making her own breakthrough. The vectory weapon systems use quantum principles we barely understood before, but combining their approach with our own research, I've developed something entirely new. These innovations spread throughout the colony. Over decades, New Terra developed technologies that would have seemed magical to the humans who left Earth, partly based on vectory principles, partly on human creativity, and partly on the necessity of surviving in a harsh environment. These new technologies transformed life on the colony world. 200 years after the landing, New Terra had become a thriving civilization. The original colonists were long dead, but their descendants had built something remarkable. Cities gleamed under protective shields that moderated the harsh climate. Vehicles moved through the air using gravity manipulation. Medical technology had extended the human lifespan and adapted bodies to the higher gravity. In the Planetary Council chamber, Governor Moon addressed the assembled representatives. For 2 centuries, we have focused on survival and growth. We have built a new home for humanity, but we have never forgotten where we came from. He activated a display showing the solar system, with Earth at its center. Our long-range observatories have been watching. The Vectri Empire is not what it once was. Their expansion has stretched their resources thin. Internal conflicts have weakened them. They believed they had destroyed humanity, but we survived. We grew stronger. And now, perhaps, it is time to think about returning. The council chamber erupted in excited conversation. For many, Earth was just a story from history books, but the idea of reclaiming their ancestral home had never died. In her laboratory, Engineer Bo put the finishing touches on a new ship design. It was smaller than the colony ships of old but infinitely more advanced. Its hull could partially phase out of normal space. Its engines could cross vast distances in mere months rather than decades. She looked up at the night sky through the laboratory dome. Somewhere out there was Earth, the planet she had never seen but had heard about all her life. She wondered what it looked like now, after centuries of Vectri occupation. "We're coming back," she whispered to the stars. "They thought we were gone forever, but we're coming back." The stealth vessel Horizon slipped into the solar system like a ghost. Its special engines barely disturbed the space around it. Its hull absorbed light instead of reflecting it. To any watching eyes, it might have appeared as just another piece of space debris, if it appeared at all. On the bridge, Dr. Hannah checked the ship systems one final time. Her heart beat faster as the familiar shape of Saturn came into view. This was the system of her ancestors, the home she had never seen but had dreamed about her entire life. "Stealth systems functioning at optimal levels," reported the ship's pilot, Officer 1. "No indication that we've been detected." Hannah nodded. "Proceed as planned. Maintain minimal power output until we reach Mars orbit." The small team of 12 had been carefully selected from thousands of volunteers. Each person was an expert in their field: scientists, security specialists, engineers, all of them descended from the original evacuees who had fled Earth centuries ago. All of them had grown up hearing stories about the blue planet that was once humanity's only home. "I still can't believe we're here," whispered Engineer Kwan, gazing at the view screen. "My grandmother used to tell me about the rings of Saturn when I was a child." She learned about them from her grandmother, who had actually seen them through a telescope on Earth. Hannah understood his feelings. Her own great-great-grandmother had been just a child during the evacuation. The old woman had kept a small box with a handful of Earth soil until the day she died. The Horizon continued its careful journey through the solar system. They passed Jupiter's massive form, then the asteroid belt. As they approached Mars, tension on the ship increased. This was where they would get their first close look at Vectri activity. "Multiple artificial structures detected on Mars," reported sensor specialist Dow. "Consistent with Vectri mining operations. There appear to be large-scale atmospheric processors as well." Hannah studied the images. The Vectri had transformed parts of Mars, creating habitable zones under massive domes. Outside these areas, massive machines extracted resources from the planet's surface. "Set up passive monitoring of all Vectri communications," she ordered, "and prepare the stealth probe for launch toward Earth." They couldn't risk taking the Horizon to Earth directly. The small probe would gather initial data about their ancestral home while the main ship remained hidden behind Mars' smaller moon, Phobos. Hours later, the probe sent back its first images of Earth. The bridge crew fell silent as they appeared on the main screen. Earth was not the blue jewel from their history books. Large areas of the continents had been stripped of all vegetation, leaving bare rock where forests and grasslands once stood. The oceans were darker, with unusual patterns visible from space. Massive Vectri structures dotted the surface: mining operations, processing centers, and what appeared to be cities. Hannah fought back tears as she recorded her observations. Earth's biosphere is damaged but recovering in some regions. The Vectri have strip-mined entire continents, but there are signs of regrowth in areas they've abandoned. Approximately 60% of the original ocean surface remains intact. Security Officer June analyzed the Vectri communication patterns. Their presence is substantial but not as overwhelming as we expected. I'm detecting roughly 200 major settlements, primarily concentrated in resource-rich regions. What about defenses? Asked Hannah. Orbital platforms around Earth, similar to the ones our ancestors described from the invasion, but they're older models. No evidence of the advanced systems we feared they might have developed. This was both surprising and encouraging. The reconnaissance mission had expected to find a heavily fortified Vectri stronghold. Instead, Earth appeared to be just another resource extraction colony in their empire. It matches our long-range observations, said strategic analyst Yu. The Vectri expanded too quickly after taking Earth. They stretched their resources thin across too many worlds. What we're seeing here is minimal investment, just enough to extract what they need. After 3 days of observation, Hannah made a bold decision. We're going to send a team to the surface. We need direct samples of air, water, and soil to determine if Earth could support human life again. The landing team consisted of 4 specialists in a small shuttle with enhanced stealth capabilities. They touched down in a remote area of what had once been called Norway, far from any Vectri activity. When they stepped outside, they became the first humans to walk on Earth in over 280 years. The air is breathable, reported environmental specialist Gill through his helmet comms. Higher levels of certain compounds than historical norms, but within survivable parameters. They collected samples and observed the strange ecosystem that had developed. Earth plants and animals had not been completely eradicated. They had adapted, evolved to survive in the changed environment. Small mammals watched cautiously from the underbrush. Birds with unusual colorations flew overhead. Life finds a way, whispered Gill as he collected a flowering plant unlike anything in their historical records, a hybrid of Earth flora and something alien. Meanwhile, back on the horizon, Officer June made a startling discovery while monitoring Vectri communications. Dr. Hannah, he called urgently over the comm, I'm picking up encrypted signals that don't match Vectri patterns. They're using old Earth encryption methods, but with modifications. Hannah rushed to his station. Are you saying? Yes, June said, his voice tight with excitement. These are human signals. And they're coming from Mars. The landing team was recalled immediately as they processed this incredible information. June worked to decode the signals. They're using a variation of an old Earth military code, he explained. With some adjustments, I think I can. He stopped suddenly, his eyes widening. I've got it. Audio only. He activated the speaker, and a human voice filled the bridge, Outpost 7 to Outpost 3, monthly supply transfer complete. All personnel accounted for. Glory to the Resistance. The bridge crew stared at each other in stunned silence. They were not alone. Somehow, against all odds, other humans had survived the Vectri occupation. Using the utmost caution, the Horizon moved to a position where they could better monitor the signals. They traced them to a network of underground facilities on Mars, hidden beneath the surface, some dangerously close to Vectri mining operations. After days of passive monitoring, Hannah made the most difficult decision of the mission. We need to contact them. The risks were enormous. If the Vectri intercepted their transmission, both the Horizon and these unexpected survivors could be discovered. They crafted a simple message using the same encryption pattern, brothers and sisters of Earth, you are not alone. We are the children of those who escaped. We have returned. Hours passed with no response. The crew grew tense, wondering if they had made a terrible mistake. Then, finally, a reply came, identify yourselves and your point of origin. This could be a vectory trap. After careful consideration, Hannah sent details that only humans from Earth would know, historical references, cultural touchstones, and finally a list of names from the original evacuation fleet. The response was immediate: stand by for secure communication protocols. 2 days later, the Horizon established direct contact with the leader of the Mars colonies, Commander Nam. Through their secure channel, the new Terrans learned the incredible story of how thousands of humans had survived on Mars since the fall of Earth. When the victory came, not all of humanity's eggs were in one basket, Nam explained. The early Mars colonies were small but self-sufficient. We went dark, shut down all transmissions, and hid underground. The victory were focused on Earth. They set up mining operations here but never conducted thorough searches for human presence. For nearly 3 centuries, these descendants of the original Mars colonists had lived in secret, expanding their underground network, watching the victory, and dreaming of one day reclaiming their ancestral home. We always believed others might have escaped, said Nam, but after so long without contact, many thought it was just a hopeful myth. Your arrival changes everything. As the Horizon prepared to return to New Terra with their world-changing discoveries, Hannah recorded her final report. We are not returning alone. We carry with us not just data about Earth's condition but the knowledge that humanity's spirit could not be crushed. Even here, in the shadow of our enemy, the fight for Earth never ended. And now, together, we can finally bring it home. The Great Hall of New Terra's central government building had never been so full. Representatives from every settlement packed the room. Military leaders, scientists, and government officials sat at the front. On the massive screen that covered one wall, the face of Governor Song of the Mars Coalition looked out at them all. It had been 3 months since the Horizon returned with its world-changing news. 3 months of careful planning and secret communications. Today would make it official. For 10 generations, we believed we were the last humans in existence, Governor Song said, his voice clear despite traveling across the vast distance between Mars and New Terra. We lived in the shadows, hiding beneath the surface of Mars while the victory stripped our home world bare above us. The audience listened in respectful silence. Many still found it hard to believe that other humans had survived all this time. We built our society in tunnels and caves, Song continued. Our children were born never seeing an open sky. We preserved what knowledge we could, passing down stories of Earth from one generation to the next, always watching, always learning about our enemy, always waiting for a chance that we feared might never come. Admiral Han stepped forward on the New Terra side. She was the highest-ranking military officer in the colony and had been chosen to lead the diplomatic mission. And we believed we were alone in the universe, she said. Descendants of those who fled, carrying the heavy burden of being humanity's last hope. We built a new civilization on a distant world, advancing our technology beyond what old Earth had achieved. But we never forgot where we came from.